It was supposed to be a picture-perfect family, wealthy, respected, and deeply rooted in tradition. But behind the elegant doors of royal homes, a posh society in Ahmedabad, a storm was brewing. A storm that no one saw coming, until it tore everything apart. Ramniwas Agrawal was a successful businessman dealing in marble and tiles. Along with his wife Rekha, their son Deepak, and Deepak's newlywed wife Nikita, they lived comfortably on the first floor of their luxurious home. From the outside, their life was enviable. But appearances can be deadly lies. Nikita, whose real name was Naira, had married into the family just months ago on January 16th. She was no ordinary woman. Smart, ambitious, and stunning. She held degrees in commerce and finance. Her father, Suresh Chand Agrawal, was also a wealthy businessman from Bewar, Rajasthan. It felt like a perfect match. Rich families, shared roots, and the blessings of both sides. In the beginning, Deepak and Nikita were the ideal couple. He adored her. She admired him. Their love seemed real, but something was off. Nikita was overly attached to her maternal home and often left Ahmedabad to spend weeks with her parents. Her frequent absences didn't go unnoticed, especially by her mother-in-law Rekha. Rekha was a traditional housewife who believed in values passed down over generations. She expected Nikita to shoulder household duties, to care for her in-laws, and most importantly, to be present. But Nikita was different. She had her own mind, her own space, and her own plans. Rekha couldn't relate, and slowly, irritation turned into resentment. Then came the pandemic. In March 2020, as the country went into lockdown, Nikita got stuck in Rajasthan. For 3 to 4 months, she remained with her parents, claiming travel restrictions as the reason. Though Deepak and Ramniwas believed her, Rekha didn't. She began to question everything, her loyalty, her values, even her intentions. When Nikita finally returned in October, a shocking announcement followed. She was pregnant. Deepak was ecstatic, but Rekha? Her heart sank. Instead of joy, suspicion crept into her mind. What if this baby wasn't Deepak's? What if it belonged to someone else? Someone she could never even imagine. She started observing more closely. She had seen Nikita and her husband Ramniwas share jokes, casual conversations, and even text frequently. Though there was no concrete evidence of anything inappropriate, doubt had taken root. And once suspicion is planted, it grows like poison ivy, twisting reality and choking logic. Rekha's behavior changed. She became more hostile, more confrontational. She accused Nikita of ignoring family values and hiding secrets. The two clashed frequently, sharp words, silent meals, slamming doors. Deepak, caught in the middle, tried to keep the peace. Ramniwas laughed it off, but neither man realized how close things were to breaking point. Then, fate struck again. Ramniwas tested positive for COVID-19. On October 24th, he was admitted to a private hospital. With the father gone, tension at home intensified. And on the evening of October 27th, everything unraveled. That night, around 8 p.m., Deepak was away for business. Inside the house were only Rekha and Nikita, the two women who could no longer tolerate each other. Rekha, cooking in the kitchen, couldn't resist one last taunt. She grabbed a metal pipe used for cleaning and pressed it against Nikita's stomach. "You think I don't know," she snapped. "This baby, it's not my son's. It's your lover's, my husband's." Nikita froze. Her face turned pale, then crimson. The insult, the accusation, hit her like a bullet. Her blood boiled. In that moment, something inside her snapped. She grabbed the pipe from Rekha's hand and swung it with all her strength. The first blow landed on Rekha's head. Blood splattered. She screamed and collapsed, but Nikita didn't stop. Rage took over reason. Again and again she struck, on the chest, the stomach, the face, until Rekha's body stopped moving. And when she finally looked at what she had done, she panicked, alone, afraid, and surrounded by blood. But instead of calling for help, Nikita tried to erase the evidence. She covered the body with a bedsheet and attempted to burn it inside the flat, hoping to stage a suicide. But a human body doesn't burn that easily. The flames died halfway, and the smell of burning flesh began to spread. Neighbors heard screams earlier. Now they sensed something was terribly wrong. They knocked, then they banged. But Nikita stayed silent. So they called Ramnawas in the hospital. He was still recovering, but the moment he heard of the disturbance, he alerted Deepak. By 9:30 p.m., Deepak was at the door. He rang the bell. No response. He called both his mother and his wife. No answer. Panic gripped him. He borrowed a ladder from neighbors and climbed through the kitchen window. What he saw inside, he would never forget. Deepak stepped into his home, his heart pounding like a war drum. The silence inside was unnatural, too still, too heavy. As he moved toward his mother's room, the air thickened with dread. And then he saw it. Rekha was lying in a pool of blood, her body partially burned, her clothes scorched and clinging to her skin. Beside her lay the iron pipe, bloodied, brutal, and cold. It was no accident. This was murder. Frozen in shock, Deepak turned to find Nikita sitting calmly in their bedroom, hands in her lap, staring blankly ahead. Her face bore no emotion. Only when he questioned her did she respond in a soft, shaky voice. Mummiji was upset. She fought with me and then went to her room. I don't know what happened next. Maybe she set herself on fire. Deepak was stunned. Her words made no sense. If it were suicide, why was there so much blood? Why was the weapon still there? Why didn't she call for help? He didn't believe her. Not fully. Not yet. But something didn't sit right. He dialed 108 and called the ambulance. Medical staff arrived and confirmed the worst. Rekha was dead, and not by suicide. She had suffered blunt force trauma to the head and chest, followed by attempted burning. The wounds told a brutal story. Police were called in immediately. They sealed the crime scene and began their investigation. Neighbors were questioned. CCTV footage from outside the flat was reviewed, but nothing suggested anyone from outside had entered the flat that evening. Just 2 women inside. One dead, one alive, one lying. At first, Nikita stuck to her story. She locked herself in. I didn't know anything until I found her. But police weren't buying it, especially when they noticed her trying too hard to control her narrative. Her clothes were spotless, strangely clean, but in the back of the bedroom they found a laundry basket. Inside were blood-stained garments, hidden, but not well enough. Her phone was checked next. Messages deleted. Call logs wiped clean, but digital traces never truly vanish. Investigators recovered one haunting message from Ramnawas, dated just before he was hospitalized. It read, "Stay away from Deepak for now. We'll talk later." The wording was vague, but the implications dangerous. Police brought her in for questioning that same night. At first, she cried, then denied, then played the victim. She hated me. She blamed me for everything. But when pressed about the pipe, the burns, the phone records, her calm shattered. And the truth came pouring out like a dam had burst. She accused me of something disgusting, Nikita whispered, eyes wild with rage and fear. She said the baby wasn't Deepak's. But Papa's, how could she even think that? How could she insult me like that? I lost control. I didn't plan this. I didn't mean to kill her. I just wanted her to stop. The room went silent. Nikita had confessed. She explained every step, the argument, the insult, the first blow, and then the uncontrollable rage. She said she was horrified after seeing what she'd done and tried to fake a suicide to cover it up. She thought burning the body would erase her guilt. It didn't. In fact, it only added more layers to the nightmare. Police then turned their focus toward the alleged relationship between Nikita and her father-in-law, Ramniwas. Was there any truth to Rekha's suspicion? Forensic teams recovered deleted messages and media from Nikita's phone. Some chats were playful, others crossed into the gray zone, but nothing outright confirmed an affair. Just enough to raise eyebrows, but not enough to prove anything. When questioned, Ramniwas strongly denied any inappropriate behavior. "She's my daughter-in-law," he said firmly. "We laughed sometimes. We joked. But I never crossed the line." Still, whispers grew louder. Could Rekha have been right? Had she seen something others ignored? And most of all, was the baby really Deepak's? For now, police had no choice but to arrest Nikita under Section 302 of the Indian Penal Code for murder. The news spread like wildfire. The affluent Agrawal family was now the center of a chilling scandal. From newspapers to TV panels, the story gripped the nation. Everyone had an opinion. Everyone had a theory. In the meantime, a devastated Deepak stood between two fires. His wife was now a confessed killer. His mother was gone forever. And his father was accused of a sin no son should ever have to imagine. Back in her jail cell, Nikita curled into a corner, her face pale, her hands trembling. 2 months pregnant, alone, and haunted by the echoes of her own rage. Her only words were, "I didn't mean to, it just happened." But did it? Or was this a plan that had been building for weeks? A calculated reaction to months of pressure, humiliation, and secrets? As Nikita sat behind bars, her world in ruins, the questions around her pregnancy began to swirl louder than ever. Was the unborn child Deepak's? Or had Rekha's final accusation, one that ignited a deadly storm, been disturbingly close to the truth? The police, now deep into the investigation, turned to forensics to find out. They ordered a DNA test, one that could settle the question that was tearing a once happy family apart. Meanwhile, Ramniwas, still recovering from COVID-19, was brought in for further questioning. The once proud patriarch appeared shaken, confused, and emotionally shattered. The press had already begun branding him as the father who crossed the line. Inside the station, officers didn't hold back. "Why did you tell Nikita to stay away from your son?" one officer asked, pushing the message printout across the table. Ramniwas stared at the paper. He rubbed his forehead. And then, with a broken voice, he said, "Because something had changed. She had started looking at me differently, saying things, crossing lines I didn't expect. I was scared. I didn't want Deepak to suspect anything. I didn't want the family to fall apart." "Did you ever encourage it?" the officer snapped. "No, never," Ramniwas insisted. "Not once. I made mistakes. I joked, maybe got too comfortable. But I never wanted this. I never crossed that line." Was he telling the truth or protecting his pride? The ambiguity cast a long shadow over everything. Meanwhile, the forensic team recovered more deleted files from Nikita's phone, texts, emojis, even selfies that were questionable. Yet nothing was undeniably explicit. The digital trail danced between innocence and implication. The post-mortem report of Rekha's body confirmed it beyond doubt. She died due to blunt force trauma to the head and chest, not fire. The burns were post-mortem. The case was now airtight against Nikita. Still, the court demanded deeper clarity. Nikita's pregnancy became central. Her medical records showed she was nearly 10 weeks pregnant at the time of the murder, the conception date. Roughly 2 weeks before she returned to Ahmedabad, which meant she was already pregnant while she was still in Bewar. The focus now shifted to her hometown. The police discreetly investigated whether she had been seeing someone back home. They interviewed neighbors, friends, even her ex-college mates. Rumors surfaced about a boy she had once dated, a friend she met during the lockdown, but nothing concrete. No one came forward. No name stuck. Her parents, devastated by their daughter's downfall, denied everything. They pleaded with the media to respect their pain. "She made a mistake," her mother cried, "but please don't turn her into a monster." In court, Nikita broke down. She pleaded guilty. She recounted the final fight with Rekha, how the insult pushed her beyond her limit. She confessed to trying to stage a suicide to cover up the murder. Her lawyer pleaded for leniency, citing emotional distress, pregnancy, and past trauma. But the prosecution held firm. This wasn't just a reaction. This was a consequence of months of toxic tension, unresolved conflict, and buried secrets. The prosecutor declared, "If we let this go lightly, we tell every woman or man that murder is justifiable under stress. That's not justice." The judge listened. The court ruled Nikita guilty of culpable homicide not amounting to murder, given the emotional circumstances and absence of premeditation. She was sentenced to 10 years in prison, with the option of early parole after 6 years, if she maintained good behavior and gave birth safely behind bars. Deepak sat silently in the courtroom. His eyes were hollow. He had lost his mother. He had lost his wife. And now, he wasn't sure whose child was about to be born. He requested the court to allow a paternity test after the baby's birth. The judge granted it. But Deepak's mind was already fractured beyond repair. Trust, once shattered, rarely rebuilds the same. After the sentencing, the police released a final report. It concluded there was no definitive evidence that Ramniwas and Nikita had a physical affair. The message, the jokes, the deleted chats, they were suggestive, yes, but not proof. Still, a stain had been left behind. On his reputation, on the family's name, on everything. Back in prison, Nikita gave birth to a baby boy 6 months later. The court mandated a paternity test. When the results came back, they proved the baby was Deepak's. Rekha had been wrong, deadly wrong. Her suspicion, born from insecurity and generational distrust, had triggered a chain reaction of chaos. And yet, Deepak could never feel the same again. He refused custody of the child. The baby was given into the care of Nikita's parents. Ramniwas sold the house and left Ahmedabad, choosing to live a quiet, reclusive life back in his ancestral village. And the Grand Royal Homes flat? It remained locked, empty, silent.